All right, so we're going to work on factoring trinomials today. So we're going to do a little bit of review, and then we're going to do some sample problems. So the first bit of review is we multiplied binomials. So remember, a binomial is two terms times two terms. So to multiply these, you distribute. So this x goes to this x. X times x is x squared. X times 1 gives me a 1x. Get a different color here. I'm going to multiply the 2 times the x to get 2x, and the 2 times the 1 to get a 2. From here, you just need to combine like terms. So when I combine like terms, these two are going to combine. You get x squared plus 3x plus 2. So if I take x plus 2 times x plus 1, I get x squared plus 3x plus 2. Factoring trinomials is just working backwards. So I have given you this. I want you to give me what two things multiplied to it. And sometimes there isn't one. If you can't find one and you've tried everything, then it's not factorable. Most trinomials are factorable that we're going to give you, but every now and then there'll be one just to trick you. So to find what works, you need to figure out what multiplies to this last number. So at 2, your only options are 2 and 1. So 2 times 1 will give me that 2. And then this first term, x times x, will give me x squared. So if this first term is x squared, then your first set of parentheses is always going to be x and x, right? Because x times x will give me that x squared. Then you need to figure out what's going to give me 6. You have a couple options. So for 6, I can have 1 and 6, or I can have 3 and 2. If both signs are positive, then both signs down here are positive. Okay. Now I just need to figure out what multiplies to be 6, but combines or adds to be 5. So if I have 1 and 6, I multiply them, I get 6. But 1 plus 6 would give me 7, not 5. 3 times 2 would give me 6, and 3 plus 2 would give me 5. So I'm going to have a 3 and a 2. Always check to make sure that you've got your signs correct and when you multiply it out. So x times x is x squared. X times 2 is plus 2x. 3 times x is plus 3x, and 3 times 2 is plus 6. These will combine to give me 5x, so I have x squared plus 5x plus 6. Therefore, x plus 3 times x plus 2 is my final answer. So you're looking for what two binomials multiply to give you the trinomial, so 3 terms. All right, so what if I have 2 subtraction signs? And I'm actually going to change this one to have a subtraction sign here. If they're both negatives, the only way to multiply to a negative with 2 things is one of them to be negative. So again, to get that x squared, I'm going to have x times x. That's how I get the x squared. Again, I have a 6, so my options are 1 and 6 or 3 and 2. If they're going to multiply to a negative, one sign's negative and one sign's positive. Okay. If I want them to add to a negative 5, I need the bigger number to be negative, so that when I combine them, I still have a negative number. If I have 6 and 1, and one of them is negative, I get a negative 6. If I have 6 and 1, and one of them is negative, I can combine to get negative 5. The 6 is negative, and the 1 is positive. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Now I'm just going to multiply it out to make sure that I'm right. Let me do it in green this time. So x times x is x squared. X times 1 is 1x. Negative 6 times x is negative 6x. And negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. Combine those middle terms, and I get negative 5. So again, this is your final answer. All right. So if they're both positive, you have 2 positives. If they're both negative, you have 1 of each. If you have 1 of each to begin with, how can I add to get a negative, but multiply to get a positive? If they're both negative, right? Negative times a negative is a positive, but a negative plus a negative is still a negative. So both signs are negative. Again, to multiply to x squared, I'm going to have an x and an x. To multiply to 4, I have 1 and 4, or 2 and 2. If they're both going to be negative, and I make both of these negative, negative 1 and negative 4 gives me negative 5, so that doesn't work. Negative 2 and negative 2 gives me negative 4, so that works. So it's negative 2 and negative 2. Again, multiply it back out to make sure that you're right. If the 2 parentheses match, your final answer should be written as x minus 2 squared. Remember, squared means something times itself. So if I have the same thing times itself, I can write that faster by saying x minus 2 all squared. So that is multiplying out trinomials or binomials and factoring trinomials.